There's been an alarming situation occurring each and every week here on Brad Carroll's Game Day, and we're going to get to the bottom of it right now. Anthony Della, as everyone should know by now, has at least 99 problems, but I never thought picking college football games would be one of them. Yet here we are about to discuss another losing Saturday. Anthony went 3-4 last week for his 6th straight losing mark. I'm not even sure how it's possible to go 6 straight weeks without sporting a winning record. But Anthony, here we are again.
Here we are again in a place I do not want to be. I have struggled big time lately. I'm not going to make any excuses. I'm simply not getting the job done. But to invoke a baseball analogy, there's no pinch hitter coming up for me here. I'm going to have to step up to the plate and produce. Been in the cages a lot this week, working on a few things. I think I've solved my problems. I think I'm ready to break out of my slump.
All right, Anthony's losing ways have done nothing to disturb the Wunderkind from continuing to spread the wealth. I had another 5-2 mark for the week and moved 14 games over 500 for the season. Craig Carroll came in with a winning week as well, going 4-3 to leave Anthony all alone on Loser Island.
All alone, but not for long. I've got my canoe, got my paddle. I'm ready to get out of these stormy waters and head out over to the shores of the kingdom of the Wunderkind, where all these people with winning records reside.
And the other big story is the situation involving Auburn's Cam Newton and the allegations his father asked for a 6-figure signing bonus for the quarterback to play this year. There's been a lot of talk that media members might not vote for Newton, even though he is the clear leader for the Heisman Trophy. That is ridiculous. If he is proven guilty before the voting takes place, he should absolutely not win the award. But no one can make a judgment now for something that may or may not be proven months or years down the line. If he's your choice, does he get the vote?
Yeah, the answer for which you have just illuminated is a reluctant yes. He's eligible right now. As long as he remains eligible and produces the way he's been producing, he's clearly been the best player on the football field. He gets the Heisman. My concern is that after that, he may be ruled ineligible. And if he is, they should take it away. But as long as he's eligible, he should get it. He's certainly Newton's the leader right now, and he should still get it as long as he's eligible.
Absolutely. All right, let's get right into Week 11. 7 games, 7 picks. Here we go. The aforementioned Cam Newton leads number 2 Auburn at home against Georgia as 8-point favorites. The allegations against Newton have heated up in recent days, and that could be bad news for the Tigers, who need the quarterback to be on his game today in order to remain in the hunt for the national championship.
Yeah, they need Newton. He's the big reason why they've been winning. Without him, who knows how many losses they could have. Memo to the folks in Auburn, though, if you're not worried about this game against a subpar Georgia not having its typical season, you should be, because Georgia is 4-1 in its last 5 games. Turnaround a lot to do with the return of A.J. Green. He's caught 7 touchdowns since he's been back. Auburn, terrible against the pass. That does not bode well. You can't keep outscoring teams to win. At some point, it's going to catch up with you. I think it happens this week. Auburn needs to win to clinch their spot in the SEC title game. No. Georgia pulls the upset 34-30.
Wow, that's a big pick. You know, this game is all about how Newton responds, because if he plays like he has so far this season, Auburn wins going away. If he struggles at all, Auburn could pull the upset. But I don't see the Tigers or Newton slowing down now. Auburn wins and clinches its spot in the SEC title game. Auburn 38, Georgia 27. Next up on the docket, we have a big-time matchup.
And we'll get to that big-time matchup after we read this memo from everyone's favorite no-show, the Evil One.
I wasn't expecting it, but that's what he's planning every week, I think.
Shows up whenever.
All right, here's Craig Carroll's statement. This is really starting to get embarrassing for Anthony. In a horrible ongoing trend, Anthony went 3-4 for what seems like the 10th week in a row. Question for you, Anthony. Is that seat getting hot? Because you're definitely on the hot seat with those performances.
Look, I already said before I've got no excuses. I'm not getting the job done. But there's a big reason why my seat's not hot. Because this guy over here never shows his face around here. So I don't know what he's talking about. If he wants to show his face and criticize me, I'd like to see it.
Wow. A 4-3 week for me is good, but I lost another game in the overall chase for the championship as Brad went 5-2. I'm really getting sick of giving him credit, but I know a choke is coming soon. I hope not.
I don't know about that.
On to my picks. Oregon giving 20. Auburn giving 8. Penn State getting 17.5. Oklahoma State giving 6. Utah giving 6. Mississippi State getting 13. In my game of the week, the old ball coach leads his Gamecocks into the swamp to take on Florida, a 6.5-point favorite, with the winner going to the SEC championship game. Florida is rolling, and South Carolina is fading, but I'm going with the upset, giving Steve Spurrier his ultimate revenge with a 24-21 win over the Gators.
Interesting pick. As he said, Florida's been better of late. They've won 2 in a row. Meanwhile, the Gamecocks got destroyed by Arkansas last week. Look, they should have wrapped up their trip to the SEC title game a long time ago. They had that meltdown against Kentucky after beating Alabama earlier in the season. Like I said, got throttled by Arkansas. I think Florida makes them pay for not getting the job done. They win this game 30-23. Spurrier still can't get to the SEC title game with South Carolina.
Yeah, I pegged this game as an upset as soon as I saw South Carolina was the underdog, but I've gone back and forth since. The Gamecocks are 0-12 all-time in Gainesville. They lost by 50 points in its last trip to Florida, and they're coming off a loss to Arkansas last week. Florida, however, is nowhere near the team it was in recent years, and South Carolina won't be intimidated. Craig will probably say I'm stealing his pick, but I'm going with it anyway. South Carolina 27, Florida 24. All right, number 15, Utah travels to Notre Dame as 6-point favorites in our next matchup. Utah is coming off a big loss to TCU, while Notre Dame is a disappointing 4-5 this season and will be playing without quarterback Dane Christ.
Yeah, Dane Christ is gone. Notre Dame thought they found their way in the middle of the season. They won 3 straight games, but 2 disappointing losses to Navy and Tulsa last week. Like I said, Christ is gone. Utah, speaking of disappointing losses, got throttled by TCU last week. The question is, do they have a hangover effect for that game, or do they get really fired up to come back and win it? I think it's the latter. Utah actually is just a better team, better athletes right now than Notre Dame, so they'll get the job done, 37-20.
Yeah, Utah lost by 40 to TCU last week, which typically would be a recipe for a team to be down on itself in its next matchup. But that won't happen for the Utes, as playing at Notre Dame should get any team excited, no matter the circumstance. If Dane Christ was playing, I would have gone with the Irish plus the points. But Notre Dame is playing a freshman, which should mean a big Utah victory. Utah 33, Notre Dame 20. Jumping back to the SEC, number 17 Mississippi State travels to number 11 Alabama's 13-point underdogs. Alabama was eliminated from the national title picture last week with its loss to LSU, so the Tide could be open to another upset against an improved Mississippi State team.
They could be. Raise your hand for me for a moment, if you will. Raise your hand if you thought coming into this game both of these teams would have the same record. Raise your hand if you thought the one coming into the game with the momentum would be Mississippi State. Go figure. Mississippi State's won 6 in a row. Alabama's coming off a disappointing loss to LSU. 2 teams that play great defense. I expect a low-scoring game. That said, I'm not ready to throw Alabama under the bus and say their season's over. I do think they will win this game 16-13.
Yeah. There's 2 ways this game could go. Either Alabama plays inspired football and blows Mississippi State out of the building by halftime, or Mississippi State keeps the game close until the final whistle before winning or losing in thrilling fashion. I'm going with the latter, just not the upset. Alabama 28, Mississippi State 27. Next is a Big Ten rivalry game featuring Penn State traveling to number 8 Ohio State as 17.5-point underdogs. Penn State coach Joe Paterno celebrated his 400th career victory last season by announcing to the Happy Valley crowd that he and the Lions were going to beat Ohio State this week. Can they get the job done?
That's a big question. Well, if they can, it's going to be behind the arm of Matt McGloin. Penn State's struggling offense has found something the last 3 games with McGloin. He's thrown 7 touchdown passes, all 3 wins, but he's going to have a tough task going up against the Ohio State defense, which is one of the best in the country. They're 3rd in the nation in points allowed, I think about 13 a game. That's ultimately, I think, what gives Ohio State the win. They're just too good on defense. Penn State keeps it close. Ohio State, 24-20, gets the job done.
Yeah, Penn State doesn't have the talent or the experience of the Buckeyes, but the young Nittany Lions will be ready for this matchup and should play well enough to keep the game close enough to win with the points. Ohio State 34, Penn State 17. Switching to the Big 12, number 12 Oklahoma State heads to Texas as 6-point favorites. I don't think anyone would have thought before the season that the Cowboys would have been favored in this game, but it just shows how far Texas has fallen this season.
Yeah, Texas has been an absolute wreck. They've lost 3 straight. They may not even make it to a bowl. Oddly enough, though, they managed to beat a highly ranked Nebraska team earlier in the season, so I don't know if that is a message for Oklahoma State or not. This game scares me a little bit, but with that said, Oklahoma State has been a wrecking ball on offense. They average 46 points per game. They are close to a berth in the Big 12 title game. I think they will get even closer this week. They're not going to let a bad Texas team, rise up and beat them. Oklahoma State 40-20.
Oklahoma State hasn't won in Texas since 1944, but history has nothing to do with this matchup. Texas has lost 3 straight at home, so it is extremely difficult picking them to lose this game, but that's exactly what I'm going to do. Oklahoma State 38, Texas 28. Finally, number 1 Oregon heads to California as 20-point favorites. Oregon, which I picked to win the national title several weeks back, has done nothing to change my thinking, rolling through its schedule with impressive win after impressive win. With the Ducks on the road this week, does Cal stand a chance at stopping that momentum?
Not a chance. Say it with me now. Quack, 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 quack. I'm on the Ducks bandwagon with you right now. They have no problems in this game against an absolute mediocre Cal team. 50-10. Their march to the national title continues in dominant fashion.
Yeah, Oregon has come through all season and all week last week for us, so there's no reason to go against them in the now or in the future. The Ducks will hit 50 points again and continue their remarkable season with another big victory. Oregon 51, California 21. With that, we wrap up another edition of Brad Carroll's Game Day. Be sure to check out the print version every Saturday in the pages of the Bristol Press and New Britain Herald, on my blog at bradcarrollgameday.blogspot.com, and don't forget College Game Day Rewind exclusively on my blog. For Anthony, I'm Brad. We'll see you next week.